Wait, play, pause. Creating new Pokemons? We'll do this before I leave. This is it. The last video we're doing.
Hey guys, Ron here, and welcome back to the series in which I document my walks around the world and create 3 Pokemon based on what I saw on my walk.
So wait, while that was starting, I was just pulling up this picture. You y'all see my shiny Trico I got? Huh? During Trico Day, I got one. Skin didn't get none. Well, she was feeling a little under the weather, but yeah, check that shit out, man.
In the top right corner, because in order for this series to continue, I need you guys to show some love to the 3 episodes that are for snow, but global warming. I've been praying for snow, but global warming is withholding that sweet frozen water flakes. So when snow begins to fall, we'll walk outside and make some ice types or whatever. But for now, I'm gonna look around my room for some inspiration. Since some of you guys can't go outside for various reasons, the things inside your house aren't half bad for some good old inspiration. But now it's time for the room tour. Welcome to my humble abode. There's much to work with here. I actually literally built this room from scratch with my dad. The only big thing we didn't personally make were the electronic devices and couch. But that has nothing to do with what we're here for. I mean, there are a lot of posters, most of which were from Pokemon pre-orders or I just printed them out. Oh, and there's the AC. Maybe a Pokemon that conditions the air isn't a bad idea. That could be a fire-ice type. This carbon monoxide detector could inspire a Pokemon that detects harmful gases. It's here because of this gas heater, because it gets super cold in my room during the winter. Maybe we can combine those two into a Pokemon that can both release harmful gases, but also sense them. We have these plushes here, but the only one that isn't an already existing fictional character is the middle plush, which an amazing fan of mine made herself for my birthday. How about we pull a reverse Bayonet? Instead of a doll who wants revenge for being discarded, we have a ghost doll that is searching for another amazing trainer to love after its lifelong partner died from old age. Mimikyu is just a jealous ghost disguising itself under some cloth. It's not literally a ghost doll. This Pokemon could be a literal ghost doll like Bayonet, but adorable. So let's get right into it. So we know it's gonna be a teddy bear, so I said so like 3 times already. We have to just draw the basic shapes first, just like any drawing. Now I'm having trouble with the head, but I thought I might as well draw a normal teddy bear and add the Pokemon elements after. But since it's the Pokemon world, I thought it would just be a stuffed version of an Ursaring, not a Teddy Ursa. I came up with a more lovable face and added the rings. But first we gotta make it look like a plush, so I added a seam, and since it's old, a missing eye. And eventually a missing chunk of the ear, since teddy bears aren't really accurate to real bears and have a combination of features from multiple species, I thought it would make more sense that teddy bears in the Pokemon world would be the same.
Did you guys ever get through that phase of like watching speed drawings and stuff?
I gave it the stomach scruff of a bear tick
and the tufted
hair that a Beware has. But now I was trying to find ways to make it look more damaged and different, really. But then it started to look like a Frankenstein's monster or even cyborg. I decided that since its former owner was very nice, they replaced the eye once it went missing. But of course, with an eye that doesn't really match. I experimented with having the spirit come out of a bit of its shell, but thought it looks too much. I don't know, it's over-designed. I took out the big patch and added a more asymmetric, cute little cheek patch. And here is when I decided that the fur on his shoulder emulating an Ursaring should be a little bit inaccurate, so I combined it with the fur on the neck of a Pangoro. Now it's time for the more refined version, in which I added Pangoro's neck fur, making it much more of a combo of various Pokemon bears, especially since its arm is also modeled after Pangoro. Its evolution wasn't too hard. It would basically just be the spirit that has left the stuffed animal, once it maxed out its friendship and has found a trainer who loves it. The spirit is basically a bear angel with a touch of ghost, but I needed to spice it up. I thought it would be cool for the ring on the stomach to become a halo, but I don't want it to be a straight up halo. That's too on the nose and uncreative, so I decided that the ears would float too, which makes it more interesting and unique. I also gave a new design for the cheek to give it more personality, but something wasn't quite right with the face. So I added the nose and it really tied the whole design together. I didn't really change much in the refined version except for adding some fur on the bottom half so it didn't kinda simply have a traditional Danny Phantom ghost tail. And there they are. Vitali, a ghost normal type, evolves into a
Wait a minute, that's fucking nuts right there. Sorry, that was like geeked out a little bit too hard on that, but that's fucking cool.
A ghost fairy type, when its friendship is maxed out past level 30. They have the new ability called Spirit, which is basically a ghost version of Overgrow or Blaze. It boosts the power of ghost type moves when their HP is low, almost as if they have a drive to fight harder for their trainer when they are in a pinch. Vitali comes from the words vitality and ally, while Ascend is a combo of ascend, because it's going up, and friend. Now let's go back and gather more information for the 3rd and 4th Pokemon. Now I collect both elephants, my favorite animal, and of course it would be weird if I didn't have Pokemon figures. Most of these are ones my sister got me for my birthday, and then these were the first of my elephant collection. I mean, we can have another elephant Pokemon made of stone, but that would be pretty similar to Donphan. And obviously these Pokemon already exist, so let's move on. Here's some things that don't translate into Pokemon. Here are a bunch of stuffed animals that I got throughout my childhood that I decided to keep because they give character to the room. Here's some dinos and a ton of pictures of me as a kid that you don't really care about. But now that I look at this tiny T-Rex, I actually have an idea for a tiny dinosaur fossil Pokemon. Maybe it was unexpectedly small and didn't have an evolution a million years ago, but gained an evolved form during the regeneration process that brought it back to life. I like that a lot. That may be the next Pokemon, but we just made one, so let's continue and decide a few minutes later. By the way, that TrueGreen7 logo lights up. My dad made the light and I made the logo. That's the power of collaboration, my friends. Now, a lot of the posters I have, if you noticed, are maps, usually Pokemon regions. But a navigating Pokemon with a perfect sense of direction would be cool. Of course, I call this my Hoenn wall, and my parents had this recreation of a world map from 1965. So I took it, cause I'm all about that jam. This little setup is neat, but everything here is already something that inspired an existing Pokemon or is a Pokemon. Looking at you. Honestly, I just love the lights in my room. I've always wanted to make a light-based Pokemon. You see these lights? We had extra LED strips, so we bought some cheap plastic orbs and stuffed the lights in there. How about a glowing, cute little orb Pokemon that lives in a cave? We already have Mini Orb, but that thing's from the sky. This Pokemon could live not in the sky. I have a Pokemon evolution tree from Birdkeeper Toby. Shoes. Do we need a shoe Pokemon? No?
Okay. A shoe
Time
Pokemon.
for the desk area. There's some interesting stuff here, but first we have these Hoenn badges and of course the YouTube play button.
Hey.
For my birthday, my brother got me this red Nendoroid figure with the other starters right here, chilling near my face as I work. My sister got me this Rowlet for Hanukkah, and I treated myself to this Decidueye family figures. None of that helps the creation process, but maybe Ed could help with that. This was another birthday present for my bro, and maybe we can make an alchemy Pokemon. Look, I know this isn't helpful, but I thought this was the best way to make a room tour without just straight up making a room tour. Give me some props. I honestly think the best plushes are the ones that have the same proportions as the... Keep in mind that there's the way Velociraptors are portrayed in Hollywood, and the more scientific version, which is way smaller and completely feathered. The whole concept of this Pokemon is that it's perfectly preserved and brought back to life.
I was getting ready to tell you that's just from the Smithsonian, but it says that on the bottom right, so that's not very creative.
Back when the pre-evolution lived millions of years ago, it never had an evolution and looked like the accurate versions of Velociraptors. Once it was revived...
You can't tell I'm dying over here. It's just catching up to me how bad I feel.
Its DNA mixed with the rocks that fossilized it, just like all fossil Pokemon, and it mutated so much that it acquired an evolved form that loses all of its feathers and becomes much bigger and more aggressive, therefore looking more like the mistaken versions we're familiar with. So first we have to just draw the basic shapes of a Velociraptor, and then we'll make it more Pokemon-like. Now I'm having a bit of trouble with the head. It looks too bird-like, and since I know it needs to have less realistic proportions to make it look more like a fictional character, I made this head bigger. I also knew I wanted to take inspiration from bullets, since this was gonna be a tiny Pokemon that is super fast. Right now I'm just adding a lot of feathers without any plan. I know it looks terrible, but I'm about to experiment even more. The legs here are...
Dude, we believe in you. I saw the last one,
atrocious,
so
and the new head is even worse. So let's scrap the whole thing and learn from our mistakes. The trickiest part is the eyes, and I don't get those quite right until later. We're first trying to get the proportions more Pokemon-like, which means smaller neck and bigger head. And since this is a pre-evolved form, it needs bigger eyes too. I like this pattern on the face, so let's finish the body to see if this works. Not great, but better than version 1. But I want a face that's less generic, and I quickly made one with more personality.
Wow.
I attached it to the body, and that's when it hit me. This looks way more like an evolved form, so let's just take this and make a baby version of it, and then change it later to fit the concept of the featherless evolved form that I had. And now we're finally on version 3, which is closer to the final design and pose. It still looks too dinosaur-like and less birdie than I want it to be, since Velociraptors are very bird-like. At least I found an eye shape that fits extremely well with the other eyes in the Pokemon world. It looks like the eye of a Pokemon. But before I moved on, I needed to refine the head a bit more. It's a bit better, but not perfect. I made some arms that I'm proud of, but the legs are too long for a pre-evolved form. I shortened those babies and finished the tails design, but the beak was still bugging me. After adding more detail to the torso, I went back to the beak and finally made something that was closer to the final design. All I had to do was finish the legs, and then I went back and made the nose rounder, which makes it way cuter and more childlike. So now it's time to update the evolved form so it looks like a scarier, more rugged and featherless version of the pre-evolved form.
Yeah.
The first step is just getting rid of the feathers and making the legs bigger. I experimented with a lot of different spikes, but by the end I thought it looked over-designed, so I toned it down a bit but still made it look like a gargoyle gremlin, cause the whole point is that it's unnatural and mutated. The pre-evolved form is the natural Pokemon. And there they are, the 2-foot-tall rock type Velasnipe evolves into the rock dragon type, who is 5 foot tall. They both have the new ability Overshoot, which slightly weakens the physical moves of a foe if they attack after the raptor attacks with a physical move. The rationale is that when our Velociraptor Pokemon attacks, it's still in motion after it has performed its move, so when the foe attacks, it's attacking while the raptor is running, which softens the blow of the attack since it's hitting a moving target that is made of rock.
Dude, that is OP, man. This man is underrated. What the fuck? Commission a video game to be done, and it's got designs like the starters for it. I'm down. So let's get that going. I'll holler at you guys later, man. That's just amazing. That's fucking amazing. Peace.